I'm really proud to work for John Deere because the commitment of this company. We don't build machines only. We are committed with the humanity. We look for productivity to feed more people in the world.
Recently, while traveling with colleagues, we had a dinner, about a dozen of us, and we were talking about some of the setbacks we face in doing our work and some of the personal challenges that we face. And one senior person with a very distinguished career said, but you know, at some point you realize that it's about so much more than you. And I was struck by that. We were all struck by that. And I think the reason is we were proud to be part of this organization where people do see that it's bigger than themselves. We're all part of a legacy of many years. We're standing on the shoulders of that legacy, and we're building a new one for the future. And to play even a small role in that is a pretty awesome opportunity.
The dealer told me 3 years ago he sold a tractor to a customer. That time he had to take loan, and within a year the customer cleared his loan and purchased another tractor. And this year he has purchased 2 more. He is doing labor work with the tractor and he is making a lot of money out of it. He is not only making money for himself, he is making people's life easy by providing them labor and timely assistance. And best of all, he is providing employment to the drivers who run his tractors. The dealer asked me a question. Don't you think I'm not just selling machines, but spreading prosperity as well?
Each semester I teach a junior achievement class, and part of that class is an ethics discussion, and I used a real-world example of WorldCom's collapse. And one of the students in the class naturally challenged me to see if that would ever happen at John Deere. And I took a pause and was able to confidently respond back that no way, that couldn't happen here at John Deere. And then they naturally challenged me on why, and I said that it just comes from consistent messages from senior management that the how is just as important as the what.
Well, it makes me feel honored, and it makes me really appreciate the fact that I work for a company that values and that puts into practice core values that mean something, and both in achieving the results and how we get there.
I have traveled and met with many suppliers around the world, and most of them are very proud to deal with John Deere. They recognize several of our strengths. First one is integrity at the utmost. They feel we always do business with integrity, no matter the event.
When the September 11th terror attacks happened, they needed to work very quickly, and we knew that they needed our equipment as soon as possible. And so those decisions got made instantly, and people started working right away to get it done. I know that Deere is in the business to make money, and we need to do that, but it's nice to know that as a company we give generously and really without hesitation when we know that our equipment can be of vital assistance.
People sometimes ask me about the John Deere culture, and I say, well, culture is really our collective behaviors. And when I saw the collective behavior of the employees at Welland working with other units, working with the authorities to make this happen, it was a very proud moment. And that is what the John Deere culture is all about in my mind.
In May of 2008, an absolutely devastating EF5 tornado hit the town of Parkersburg, Iowa. And unfortunately for one of my coworkers and a good friend of mine, his parents, they were right along the line of devastation. He had sent a request out later that week to a whole group of John Deere employees, just asking for anybody that could come and help his parents, help neighbors, help his in-laws. I was absolutely floored on Saturday when we made our way through the town to his house, and there was a whole group of familiar faces there of fellow John Deere employees. It gives you a sense of pride to know that you work with such a great group of people that do care about the communities and the other colleagues that they work with.
Well, it was about a year ago, and I was working with a customer who was trying to decide where he should place his financing, and rate was an issue, and times were tough at that time. And although he'd been around for about 30 years and he was in a good position with his company, he remembered a time back in the 80s when he had a very difficult time, and John Deere stepped up to the plate, and they actually helped him with some payment relief until he could get back on his feet. And that's why he decided to place his financing with John Deere Credit this time. And for me as a new employee, that's when I realized that I was working for a company who wasn't just about short-term gain, that they were about standing behind their customers for the long term.
After I joined the company, my friends will send me text messages whenever they see a John Deere tractor. 1 week ago, one of my friends went to Qinghai province, the neighboring province of Tibet, and she said, I was driving on a very remote expressway, and suddenly I saw a John Deere tractor coming from the opposite direction, and that was a very bright color among all the dirt. I was very proud of my company when I read this text message.
Three years ago, a French large arable farmer wanted to buy an 830 tractor, but was hesitating between a wheel and a track version. I was then PLM tractor with the French branch, and together with our product specialist, the dealer and the customer, we spent a whole afternoon at the branch reviewing extensively the pros and cons of either version, taking into account a particularity of subfields on the farm established on a former marsh with very tricky ground compaction and bearing capacity issues. Obviously, the farmer did not want to buy 830T tractor without testing it on his own fields, so we organized a demo on his farm with the 8000T from a customer 200 miles away, the branch paying for the transport costs. The tests were very successful and the customer ordered his 830T. I happened to change jobs since then, but I recently came across the customer in his dealer premises. We recognized each other and recalled this day 3 years earlier when we had spent a full afternoon analyzing his needs and finding a solution to meet these.
I was at the 2008 ConExpo event in Las Vegas. My job there was to work the excavator simulator booth, and it was a great project because that involved a lot of customer input, all the way from the design of the tool, the operator simulator, all the way to how we displayed it on the display floor was decided by customers. And one customer that was particularly passionate about this project was strolled over to our display area with a gentleman that had a competitor's logo on his shirt, so I knew something was kind of up. And he acknowledged that I was standing there, you know, kind of gave me a half smile and turns to this competitive gentleman and says, "This is what happens when a manufacturer listens to its customers." And he turned around and walked away and left that gentleman standing there dumbfounded. It was great.
I was out walking the factory floor one morning, and I happened to come to the Gold Key station at the same time as a family purchasing a combine. The son was up in the combine with one of our assemblers learning all the new features of the machine. And I happened to turn to the side and just kind of out of the corner of my eye catch the parents, and there were just tears rolling down their face. It really hit me how much our company and our brand had become part of their family. It was a very powerful moment.
We visited a customer who lives in Ushuaia, which is the southernmost city in the world, in Argentina, Tierra del Fuego. So this customer was telling us that once he needed a part for a machine that he had bought from the dealer. He had this conversation with the dealer manager in the morning when they were having breakfast. The dealer manager knew how important it was to deliver an excellent service to this customer, so he borrowed a plane, flew, got the part from another dealer location, got back, and when the customer was getting out of the restaurant having lunch, he deliver the part to this customer. I felt very proud that Deere culture, Deere service culture, is not just among Deere people, but among all the dealer network.
When a bright, shiny new John Deere 3010 tractor was delivered to our Minnesota farm in the early 1960s, the pride and the confidence was immeasurable. My entire family walked inches taller that day. But the pride and confidence that came from that tractor is small compared to the pride and confidence that comes from the John Deere leadership development that is brought to me and my family. The opportunities, the education, the training, the mentoring that's been afforded to me, a Minnesota farm kid, is not unique to me. It's part of the John Deere culture.
We do the business the right way, right? And we don't cross the line anywhere. So that is the values portion of it. It's not just aggressive market growth, but growth in terms of adhering to our core values of the company. So that's what I'm saying is the most difficult part, and I would say that's the most satisfying part of creating value through values.